Inspiration is nothing if you don't act on it and if you don't do
Mm.
anything with it.
Welcome to Life and Love by Design. I'm life and relationship coach Odette Coronel. This podcast is for individuals and couples who are done living on autopilot, who are ready to understand the patterns shaping their relationships, their choices, and their sense of self, and redesign them with purpose and intention. Here, we don't just talk about what's hard. We name what's actually happening beneath it and what to do about it. And if you start recognizing yourself or your relationship in these conversations, know that this is the exact work that I do with my private coaching clients, individuals and couples who are ready for real change. Because a meaningful life and connected relationships don't happen by default. They're designed. So let's begin. Welcome back to Life and Love by Design, where we talk about how to live and love with purpose and intention and not by default. I am relationship coach Odette Coronel, and today I'm joined by someone who really embodies what it means to live by design. Tanya Lopez is a transformational coach. She's an experienced designer and facilitator of powerful, soul-expanding journeys for entrepreneurs, leaders, and creatives that are ready for their next chapter. Tanya is known for creating deeply immersive experiences such as retreats, masterminds, and live events that don't just inspire insight, but create lasting transformation. And she's worked in over 60 countries. She's led brand and communication strategy for global companies like Nike, NBC Universal, and served as head of events for Mindvalley, where she was the creative director behind A-Fest, which is an experience that thousands have called the best experience of their lives. I hope to go to A-Fest one day. And today, Tanya helps leaders, particularly female leaders, I think, build movements, create aligned offers, and expand their impact without losing themselves in the process. Tanya, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Likewise, I'm happy to have this conversation. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Great. So I want to start with your journey right from the beginning because you have had such a multi-dimensional just career and life in general. So how was it that you found yourself or found your way into this world of transformation and leadership and experience design?
Well, funny story. I won a contest for the world's most awesome job.
Oh,
Back in
wow.
back in 2012, Mindvalley was doing this global competition for the world's most awesome job, and I actually won it. And that started me on this brand new path, living overseas in the world of personal growth and development, working with some of the biggest authors, leaders in that space, and running and organizing transformational events and experiences all over the world. So I like to think that it was my destiny.
Wow. So you won a competition. That's that's amazing. What did you have to do to win that competition? Like
It
what did it
was
entail?
There was you had to submit a video cover letter. So it was basically talking about what drew you to the experience and why you thought you were the great fit for it, your experience, this kind of thing. And it's interesting because and this is it was such a huge lesson the way that this came for me, because I wasn't looking for a job. I had just started my own business. I was living in Miami. However, I was not really loving what I was doing. My I had a client that just wasn't aligned for me, and the day after I had the courage to tell this client, thank you, but we're gonna part ways. The day after that, I saw an ad on Facebook for the world's most awesome job, and I just clicked on it out of curiosity. Again, I wasn't looking for a job. I had
Yeah.
just achieved my dream of starting my own business, and I'm really convinced that had I not let go of that client that wasn't aligned for me
Mm.
the day prior, I
Wow.
I don't think that I would have seen this ad. It just wouldn't have come into my field because I didn't have space for it. And that's how it happened. And I saw this ad and I clicked on it, and it took me to this page about traveling around the world and creating events and experiences. And it was like my whole body just knew in that moment. I just
Mm.
felt this knowing like this is for me. And I had a friend that happened to be in town that was a video director from my days in LA. And I said, I have this crazy favor for you. Can you help me shoot this video for the world's most awesome job? And he said, sure. And we scripted it, shot it, edited it, sent it out in the same day. And that's how it happened.
Wow. So just from that
Yeah.
video, you won the most amazing job
Well, then I had a
in the
series. Then
world.
I had a
Right.
series
Then
of
you had
interviews with
interviews.
the company and the executive team and everything. Yeah,
Right. Was this with Mindvalley? Was that the
yeah,
Mind?
mhm,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. That's
yeah. And so
amazing.
that's a huge part of how I started my journey into personal growth and development, into creating transformational experiences, into working in that space, and also emerging myself in that space as well. I had been a bit into personal growth and development, but I was also working in corporate. Um, and I'm so grateful for that journey that I had in corporate. And at the same time, I was looking for something more purposeful, more fulfilling. And then when I found myself in this position of creating these beautiful, expansive, connective, transformational experiences all over the world, it just felt like, yes, this is the thing. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what was the first country that you visited when you started traveling and creating these experiences?
Well, I started traveling quite a bit prior to that, but the first country, well, I relocated to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The job was based in Malaysia,
Wow.
which I had never been to. And so I found myself now living in Malaysia, and the first event that I organized was in Mexico.
Okay. I love Mexico. I just went to Mexico, but that's a huge move to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I could imagine that conversation with your family. I'm moving across the world pretty much.
Yeah, I've reflected on this a bit. My family was so supportive. They were
Yeah,
so
that's
supportive,
great.
and they've always been really supportive of my dreams, as crazy as they've been, like this, literally moving to the other side of the world for a company. Mindvalley is very big now, but at the time, I had never heard of it. I had no idea
Right.
what I was getting myself into, and they really gave me their blessing.
That's great. It's important to have support in
Yeah,
order for us to be able to have the courage to really go for it and pursue our dreams and do
yeah,
something so out of the box and move
yeah.
across the country. So
I'm very
I,
grateful for the way my family has supported me throughout my life and career for sure.
that's great. So what would you say is the difference? You say you create transformational experiences. So what would you say is the difference or the distinction between a transformational experience and something that's inspirational?
Yeah, that's a good question. What comes to mind for me is inspiration is nothing if you don't act on it and if you don't do
Mm,
anything with it.
yeah.
You can sit
Hmm.
there and get the best inspiration and the best ideas and never do anything with it. So for me, the transformational part means that there is actual impact. There is actual change. Something shifts, something clicks, whether it's a mindset shift or you take action to leave that job or start that business or move countries or whatever it is, there is something in you that is shifted and transformed and expanded, and there is a tangible shift or change.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's not just about because you can gain insight, you can read a book or you can listen to a podcast or you can, watch attend a workshop or something and gain lots of insights and key takeaways. But that transformation happens, like you said, when you take action and you implement it. And it's not just about the content, but it's about what the people feel and who they become,
Yeah,
which is what I imagine events like the ones that you facilitated and designed. And, even in my work, as a coach, what happens is it's beyond insight, it's real transformation. I
yeah,
love that.
absolutely. And for me, this is part of the reason why events are so powerful, because it's a lived experience. it's different than a book. I For a long time I was reading so many personal growth books, and I'm like, but why is nothing changing? Why am I not changing?
Yeah.
Why do I keep coming up against the same thing? And it
Hmm.
seems so obvious, but I wasn't doing anything with it. I was
Yeah.
reading it, I was absorbing it, but it was almost like going in one ear and out the other because I was not embodying it.
Right.
It was not a lived experience. And so this is what I find so powerful about events or workshops or retreats or these kinds of things where you're not just sitting there looking at a speaker speak. You're actually being guided through an experience. It's immersive, it's experiential, you're connecting with other people, you're getting new insights into yourself, you're getting out of your comfort zone, you're going on excursions that are expansive, right? So that
Yeah.
for me is a big part of the transformational aspect as well, is that it's a lived experience in you.
Right. Yeah, I can see that they're actually experiencing the transformation throughout it's like a journey, the retreat. What do you think helps people to actually transform, not just while they're at the retreat, but really bring it home into their ordinary everyday lives and really implement that transformation and that experience that they've had and this new person that they've become, essentially, that they're
Yeah,
embodying? How are they able to hold on to that and embody that just in their everyday lives when they go back home and back to work and back to the daily
yeah,
lives?
yeah,
Because I feel like the facilitator is able to first kind of set the intention for what they hope the
right,
attendees are going to be able to really embody and carry with them beyond the container. So maybe from the facilitator's
yeah.
perspective, what is the intention?
Yeah. Well, what you're saying right now is huge. Is the intention, right? Like having that intention as a facilitator, as a coach. I mean, this is the whole podcast is about intention, intentional living,
Yeah,
right? And so that
exactly.
is the intention is not just to create a peak experience where people feel great for one day or for one week. The intention is to actually create deep lasting transformation. And so how do we engineer this experience in that way? And for me, part of it is that after the event ends, there's some sort of ongoing touch point, there's some sort of accountability, there's some sort of community. Community is huge. Staying connected to the people that you had that experience with, that had those um, that you shared those moments with, that hold a vision for something greater, is so big. Because what I find happens is people go back to their communities and they don't feel as expanded, right? There's another way of thinking or of being, and they lose some of that inspiration and motivation. So staying plugged into a community for accountability, for ongoing support, I think is really, really important.
If you're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're holding it together, you're being capable and responsible, and yet something in your life and relationships or your marriage still feels off, then give me a few seconds of your time because this message is for you. Relationships don't usually fall apart because of one big event. More often, it's the small everyday moments when we stop being intentional, or we stop really listening, or we stop choosing connection. Those are the things that create distance over time. I work with thoughtful, high functioning individuals and couples who aren't broken, but they're feeling disconnected or misaligned or just wondering how they got here. In my coaching, we slow things down. We try to understand what's happening beneath the surface. We identify the patterns that are shaping your relationships and your choices, and then we intentionally design what comes next. So if you're listening and you're thinking, this feels like me, that's not an accident. I offer a complimentary relationship and life alignment audit. It's a focused 45-minute conversation where I'm going to help you gain clarity and identify what comes next. You can book your session by visiting odettecornell.com. I would love to connect with you. Yeah, I can imagine community is a powerful catalyst for being able to embody that during these retreats and these experiences. And as you're speaking, what I'm thinking also is there's also an opportunity for the attendees to bring it back to their own communities as well. So staying connected with the community that they formed and that they had that shared experience with. But as you're transformed and you're changed, it's contagious. So you're different. You're showing up differently. So in a way, you're able to bring that into your regular everyday community and space in some way. And I think if you do that with intention and awareness and like you want to do that, that's a way to make it last.
Absolutely. And this is something else that I love about events and experiences is that the impact and the ripples go on further than you can ever know or realize, because you're not just impacting the people at the event. They're then going home to their families, and maybe they're only impacting their immediate family, which is already huge. If they bring that
Which is,
back
yeah,
only to their family, it's huge. But if they bring that back to their family and to their workplace, and maybe they own a business and their employees or their community, right? Like the impact and the ripple wave gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which I just think is incredible.
exactly. Exactly. I love that. And, one thing that I love about your work is how you're able to merge the inner growth and spirituality, but also with business and leadership and, and expression, and all that. Why do you think it's so important to have this like integration when normally many people think of each of these things as separate, but you
Yeah.
kind of seem to merge all of that, which I love. Why,
Yeah.
what do you think that's so effective and so important?
I can speak to it from my personal experience. There were times in my life where I felt I was compartmentalizing who I was. And I was one person at work, and I was one person with my friends, and I was one person online. And, I was kind of trying um to be who I should be, or who I thought was okay to be in a certain context. And consciously or unconsciously, I realized, like, I just want to be me. I want to be me in any circumstance. And I don't want to change who I am, whether I'm with my family or my friends or my coworkers or on vacation or at my office, right? Like, because that for me it's real and it's authentic and it's embodied. And so I started that journey of not trying to be different people in different contexts. And maybe that's never 100% eliminated, but I've been very, very intentional about making efforts to bring my full self to the table, as opposed to trying to continue to compartmentalize myself. And I think it's a very fulfilling, gratifying, purposeful way of being, because you feel like you're being true to yourself. I feel like I'm being authentic. And so sometimes clients will come to me and they'll ask, like, should I have a separate social media account, like one for business and one for personal? And sometimes I'll coach them and say, I think the more interesting question is, what part of you do you think that what part of your personal life do you think you can't bring forward in your business, or vice versa? And would it perhaps be a more interesting, expansive experience to see how you can be more fully yourself in one context, as opposed to trying to contort yourself into different contexts in different settings?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that. And it's for me, it's really about being human first, being a human being above everything, because we are all of those parts of us.
Yeah.
We embody all of it together. And it's really about living in alignment with all of those different parts of us and living in integrity with them and be able to just show up, like you said, without thinking, how should I show up? But
Mm,
just as authentically as possible, which
yeah.
I think is the best way to show up. It feels more genuine and more aligned and really more in integrity, I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've designed retreats and masterminds and these large scale events. And what is it that this experience has, just as facilitating and creating these events, what has it taught you about human connection in relation to just transformation in life? We talked about it a little bit. Um, but what do you think it's taught you about that?
I feel that at the most basic foundational level, we are all looking for connection.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, and at
it's
these events, they're all strangers essentially, right? It's not like, your family you're born connected to, and even your neighbors and the people in close proximity to you. But when someone chooses to go to these retreats or these events, everyone is essentially a stranger. And yet
yeah.
you feel so connected. So what is it about that, do you think?
The context I mentioned before, as a facilitator or as an organizer, you want to get clear on what your intentions are. And I know one of my main intentions for any event experience that I curate is to create connection, because I've come to learn that that's what people want. That's what makes people feel
Yeah.
loved and seen and held, and to come back and to get this sense of belonging. And so it's always an intention. How do we create a structure, a framework, a context, an environment, safety, where people can really feel the opportunity to connect? And not only that, but to facilitate connection in a deep way. Because, yes, as you mentioned, you are connected to your family, but you're connected through virtue of blood or being related. Sometimes that connection doesn't feel that connective. It doesn't feel
Right.
that nourishing, that deep. You don't feel that deep sense of belonging or being seen or heard or felt. That doesn't
Yeah.
just happen on its own. That is usually created either at the event through a facilitator or just in your own life. Like, I want a deeper connection with my parent, with my sibling. Let me take the effort and the initiative to do that. Let me make time to see them. Let me ask the deeper questions. Let me
Mm.
not just talk about superficial stuff. Let me reveal more of myself. Let me be more vulnerable. And so there is an art to connection. There is an art and a science to it. It doesn't just happen. It's created.
Right, exactly. It doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional. You can't take it for granted. Even with, like you mentioned, your parents, your siblings, you have to put in the effort and be intentional with it. And same thing with relationships. It's not that it's hard or it's difficult. It just takes effort and intention.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you feel about virtual events. I know that you do a lot of in-person events, and especially since COVID, there's so many virtual events as well. What do you feel? What's your opinion, or do you have an opinion in terms of being able to really create that deep connection when you can't be there in person, when we do these things virtually?
I believe that you can create a certain level of connection virtually in on Zoom rooms through this type of format. I've done it. I've seen that it's possible. However, I don't think that it compares to the magic that happens when you get people in a room face to face in a shared space. There's just nothing that can compare to that. But that said, there's definitely ways that you can create deeper connection, deeper engagement, in I think engagement is key, because if you just show up and you're just speaking at people the whole time, people lose interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that the magic and the electricity that you just feel in the in-person events is really, you can't replace that. But I do feel that even virtually you can really connect. And it's just about, I like events where you can actually participate and be active and, be vulnerable, because then you can really show yourself and connect with the people personally. You're not just a spectator, you're actually a part of the event. And I think that that makes a difference when you're able to really be seen in the event and be there and be bear witness to what others are sharing as well. I think makes a
Absolutely.
difference in being able to connect.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think this model of having speakers on stages, virtual stage or actual stage, is played out and it's old, and it's
Yeah.
not what people want anymore. It needs to be immersive, participatory, experiential. People cannot be passive spectators in an audience. That's boring.
Yeah.
That's
Or
old.
sometimes people shut off their cameras, and how engaged can they really be when they're doing, chores and other things, and
Yeah,
they're not really, participating. So I think that, but I definitely think there's value to both. And I love that there are virtual events, because I've have amazing connections that I've made with people who I've never actually met in person. So
mm,
I think there's value to both for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the show is called Life and Love by Design. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means for you in the season of life that you are in, and how you see they relate to love and relationships and really your life in general. What does
Yeah.
living and loving by design mean to you?
Living and loving by design, for me, I think about intentionality. I think about the importance of knowing who I am and what I want, and living in alignment to that, and making sure that my behavior, my actions, my way of showing up in the world is aligned with what I say that I want. And so just real clarity of knowing who I am and what I want out of relationships, the big picture things like goals, dreams, of course, but also bringing intentionality in much smaller basis on a day-to-day basis. Or what is my intention for this call? What is my intention for this coffee date? And for me, there's also this certain aspect of almost reverence or sacredness of believing that um, I am the creator of my reality, of my experience, and I'm creating that through my intention. So that's a bit what it means to me.
Is there a story that you can share with us about, either your journey, an interesting experience that you've had at one of these retreats or at one of these locations? Anything you want to share with us just about your experiences? You've had such a rich life and explored so many places. It's
Oh
so
gosh,
amazing. Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to start if you asked me to tell you a story about one of my
As many
experiences.
as you want to share.
Gosh, I'm so blessed that when I was younger, I didn't dream of marriage and children and the white picket fence. I dreamt of freedom, of travel, of adventure. And that's what I've really been doing. I've been to more than 60 countries. I've been on a deep journey of getting to know myself, of finding who I am and what I want. And I've had the blessing of living in a lot of different countries, traveling to 60 countries, having a really, really fulfilling career. And so I feel like my life has had so many stories. I literally don't even know where to start.
What's your favorite place that you visited where you had a real transformational experience yourself?
Mm. Uh, a few come to mind. So one that comes to mind is when it was quite young, and it's so potent and powerful for me because it was very transformative and it was very impactful, and I think it changed the trajectory of my life, which is when I studied abroad as a university student, and I studied abroad in Spain, in Sevilla, Spain.
Oh, nice.
And it just blew my mind open to a completely different world, possibility, way of life, culture, everything. And that planted the seed in me of really wanting to live overseas one day, of not being on this path of just living to work. And that experience that I had there really, it really shifted me. It became my dream that day to someday live overseas, to someday live in Spain. And I think it took a while. Maybe it was 20 years later, I found myself moving to Ibiza, Spain. And I had almost forgotten
Mm.
about that dream. And I said, oh my gosh, this was my dream. This was my dream as a university student, was to someday live abroad and live back here. And now here I am. So that was huge for me. That trip was very big for me. And then my dream holiday was always an African safari. I had always dreamt of that. And then when I left corporate, I made the big decision to leave corporate. I put all my things in a storage unit and I went with my partner at the time to Africa for 3 months and slept on the roof of a Land Rover for 3 weeks in the bush, and was among lions and hyenas and elephants and giraffe in the
Wow.
wild for weeks, and it was incredible. That was really a bucket list moment for me.
Wow, that sounds amazing and a little bit terrifying, but but very cool and adventurous. I love that. What do you think? What do you think transformed within you just having these experiences?
I've reflected on that, and I've tried to kind of synthesize what those lessons are, and it's been hard for me to put into words. I feel that I my life became richer, deeper, if that's possible. Like I saw, there's a part that wants to say I saw so much beauty. I saw just such beauty, such beautiful things where I'm just sometimes in complete awe of the planet that we live on, and the
Yeah.
nature, the animals, the views, all of it. But it really, it wasn't just beauty, there was also poverty and suffering and hard things as
Mhm.
well. And so that's why it's not just the beauty that I saw, but like the full range, like the depth of what I saw, and humanity, and not only humanity, but how we are all intertwined and interconnected. And really, like, whatever, I've been to a lot of different countries, lots of different cultures, and I really do believe that whatever unites us is stronger than what divides us.
Absolutely.
There's not this crazy, yes, there's cultural difference, there's food difference, there's music difference, but we all laugh, we all sing, we all dance, we all cry, we all eat, we all like sleep under the same stars. Like, there is this unity, there's this underlying connection that we have. And traveling so many different places and seeing so many cultures has really highlighted that for me. We're not that different.
We're not that different. Yeah, I think on a human level, we're not that different. And I think that's why it's so important to travel and to get to know different cultures and the way other people live. And it's different from how we live. And it's still so rich and so amazing. We tend to think that, everyone has the same experiences that we have. And the world is so different. Everyone is so different and it's so rich. We learn so much. And it goes back to that connection, right? To be able to connect with different people and different places all over the world.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that. So today has been very rich, very expansive conversation. And, your work, it really sits at such a powerful intersection of that inner work and leadership and spirituality and all of that. So Tanya, can you share with us what's something that you're excited about or passionate about that you're working on now?
Yeah, something that I'm really passionate about is a new part of my work that's developing that I'm calling Unleashed. And it's for women. And my work until now has been primarily supporting women to create businesses, personal brands, events, experiences. But what I've come to realize is that the best event strategy, the best business plan, the best content strategy, it doesn't see the light of day if you don't have the self belief to act. And I have seen women get stuck in this consistently of not having the self belief, not having the power of expression to really create from that space of power, of truth, and of deep self trust and self belief. And so this is an area that becoming that I'm diving into in terms of like helping women to reconnect to that power, reconnect, because it's not that that's not there. It's just remembering that power, that inner knowing, and supporting them to create from that space of self-trust and inner knowing. This is something I'm very, very excited about at the moment.
And it's called Unleash. And is it a new program that you're doing? Is it a one-on-one program that you're doing, or is it going to be some kind an event or an experience?
Yeah, so I'm thinking to launch it as an online experience. So later this month will be the first online experience. And then from there, I'll be rolling out some mentorship. I really envision live events around this and bringing women together into an actual physical space where we can literally unleash together. So this is a vision, this is a direction that I want to take. And for now, it will start with online, and later there'll be live events. And my vision would also include retreats at some point, mentorship. So yeah, it's all unfolding. It's new, but it's something I'm really excited
Yeah,
about.
I love that. And what type of women do you think would be perfect for Unleash?
The women that I think would be really great for Unleash are those that they're at a cusp of something. They're in a transition. They're feeling like they are ready for that next thing, and they just need that next step, right? So it might be someone who just left a relationship, who wants to start a business, who wants to leave a job that they don't like. They're feeling like they're in a transition, that they're ready for the next chapter. They're ready for expansion, for an evolution, almost a reinvention. They're feeling like this
Hmm.
reinvention coming on, and they
Yeah.
they want to step into their most powerful chapter yet.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I think that women are so powerful. And sometimes, like you said before, it's remembering that because we
Mm,
sometimes we forget it just in the everyday obligations and responsibilities, and we get caught up in just the stress of life. And I love that you said it's about remembering and reconnecting with yourself. So it sounds like a great space. We will stay tuned to see when you decide to launch it. Where can our listeners and our viewers connect with you?
So for anyone that wants to connect, my website is tanyalopez.com, and on Instagram, I'm at hi.tanyalopez.
Okay, we will definitely put that information in the show notes as well. And Tanya, thank you so much for being here. And for everyone listening, if anything in this conversation stirred something in you, that's worth paying attention to. Remember that growth starts as a whisper. And until we're ready to listen, that's when the transformation happens. So thank you for being here. And I will see you next time on Life and Love by Design. If today's episode described you or your relationship, then this is your moment. You don't need more information. You need a new way of living, choosing, and relating. And that's the work I do with individuals and couples. If you're ready to stop repeating the same patterns and start designing your life and relationships intentionally, visit the link in the show notes and book a complimentary relationship and life audit. Remember, your life and your love are yours to design.